If anybody is there on the chat, please type something into the YouTube chat so that I can know. I just want to check if the audio is correct. Hello. Let me know if you can hear everything. I'm setting up the stream for the first time, so I'm not very sure. Hi Shailesh, can you hear the audio properly? Okay, check now. I'm just worried because there is a lot of fan and AC noise. Okay, cool. Hi Vinay, hi Manda. Wow. So if anybody of you want to just chat on voice, you can go to the Discord server, and I am on mute, but you can type whatever you want to, so I can hear it, or else you can always type in the chat. So I'm just trying to manage. Oh, Mr. Augie is Swan. Okay, cool. I'm just trying to arrange everything and to see what is happening. Give some time. The streaming is pretty complicated. I need a bigger monitor.
Yeah.
Okay, I can hear somebody on Discord. I guess it is Anil. Okay, great. Uh, so I guess I should start. We have quite a few people on the stream, and let me start. So if anybody has any wants to stop me or ask any queries, type it either in the YouTube chat or in the Discord chat. I have both. I'm monitoring both of them, and if I don't pay attention, maybe just give me a shout on Discord. Okay. So yeah. So what I'm going to assume is everybody is a beginner. So we'll write from scratch, and I think maybe the part of the stream, a later part of the stream, we can ask advanced doubts, and then I'll try to solve them. Uh, I would hope that everybody has Unreal Engine installed on their machines. And so what I have is so I have generally I work on multiple versions. So I have 4.24. This is not my work machine. This is my laptop. And what we'll be doing is we'll be starting and working on 4.24. So what this is a launcher. Once you install Unreal Engine, you should have this which starts up. If you are wondering where to get Unreal Engine from, you should get it from unrealengine.com. And because of work from home, all internet is slow, plus my streaming is making things a bit slow. We have the window. Yeah, so this is our Unreal Engine. You have to create an account and then you download the engine. And what it does is essentially it gives you this launcher. Okay, my launcher might seem a little different from yours. That is one setting that I always do by default is I turn off hide game library, because if you keep that on, you get all sorts of other stuff showing up on these things which I don't want, because this launcher also works as a launcher for games and everything. Okay, so I don't want to get into that, so I just say hide game library, because obviously I don't want to all the games that I want to rather play on Steam. So it just removes all this clutter. And in this we come to library, and I'm just going to start a new project. And you can start it by clicking launch. Until it launches, let me just check what is happening on the screen. So Mandar, how is everything in Pune? So the project takes some time to launch. I'm just waiting for it to launch up, and this is it. If you have any version other than 4.24 or any version below 4.24, this window is a bit different. 4.24, this thing comes up where you have to choose what you want to make. We'll focus on games, and then we'll go to film and television, maybe in later streams. So click on games, Next, what we'll do is there are a lot of these presets which will let you do a lot of things. You are free to explore them, but we will start with a blank thing, less of confusion. So I click on next. Uh, New users don't need to really worry about it. Just stay with this. Okay. There are two ways in which coding can be done in Unreal. Don't worry about it. Just keep this basic. It is blueprint for C++. We keep it at blueprint. We keep it at maximum quality. We will keep it at desktop or console. It is either mobile or this. And we will keep what is known as starter content. So it already populates your project with some content so that you are not left completely in the dark. Okay, so everything at default. Here you will decide where you want your project to be saved. So this is the path. Give it some name. I will call it stream project, and I will say create project. Okay, again it takes its own time and it's going to start. And for some funny reason it starts on my other screen. And this is the window. So I'm just checking technically if there are any issues with the internet bandwidth and everything. So it seems nice. I hope everybody can see the stream as well as hear my voice. Can anybody confirm? Checking. Everything looks fine. I just need a little confirmation on the chat if everything is fine, because before I start going into detail, just want to make sure everybody can see everything. Hello. Uh, Okay, so that's good to hear that everybody can see. So for some absolute beginners, this is what Unreal comes when you start it. I have kept it at absolute default, and if you open it, this is what you see. Okay, there is obviously something that looks like a view screen. Okay, there is these two, content browser and an output log. Okay, which is throwing out a lot of things, and some stuff here, some stuff here, and some stuff here. So major components are this part, this part, this part, and this, and then the main screen, and obviously the toolbar. Okay, so let's, like a child, let's see like what is the most interesting part. This is the viewport which is most interesting. It can be navigated using our standard shortcut keys. So right click and drag, so you can look around. W and S to just move around. A and D. Okay, so yeah, so this should be fine. Uh, Whatever you see here, it is reflected here. So I clicked on table, table, share, share, this share, this share. So this, or you can click and try to select that. Okay, right now it is showing the world settings, and you can see that with the new Unreal it flashes this, because many people used to get confused, why can't I see anything? So you have to just go to details, and you will see all the details of the objects that you are clicking. So what are the standard details for the object? It is obviously the location, rotation, and transform, and I will just move this a bit up. Generally I like to keep it this way, and location and everything you can move about this way. Okay, so the idea is not tight, but just take the mouse there and then drag in left and right. So X, Y, and Z. Okay, same with rotation. You control Z. So all of that, let's ignore everything at the moment. Just focus on location, rotation, and scale. Like in Maya, you have this. Okay. So again, the same shortcut key, WER. So WER, and scale it, and you can see the corresponding thing moving there. Okay, I'm just doing everything. Okay, so we will not, there are a lot of things here, so we are not going to see all of these things. We are just going to make our lives easier just by trying to get the very basics. We'll try to create a very basic game, so that and then we will slowly understand what is where. Okay, so to get a very basic game, so this is that starter content which we saw in the beginning. There is this little button here. If you click on this, it shows a folder structure, which is good, from which you can see what is there in the starter content. Okay, so in the starter content, see how they have organized everything nicely. So we have props, so you can see all the assets that are there in it. So you have some architecture stuff, some audio, something called blueprints that we'll see in detail, HDRI maps. These are maps are also called as levels. Okay, so game levels, shader materials, particle systems, some props, some shapes, basic shapes, and some textures. Okay, so what we will do is if you want to add a prop from this into this, what we do is we just drag, and there it is placed. Okay, so it is as simple as that. If you want one more table, you just drag and you place. Okay, how do you get a prop into this? We click this and say new. I'll just create a new folder, just wanting to be organized. So my props. Okay, so what I then do is I need an FBX file. Okay, so this is an FBX file, and all I do is I drag the FBX into this. Okay, and just if it is a heavy FBX, just do it slowly because sometimes this icon might not show. Once this little plus icon shows, release it, and this thing comes up. Okay, you just keep an eye here. Skeletal mesh, it is not selected. We will come to that later. All of this stuff, and I just say import. Okay, I'm not doing anything here, just saying import. And some error message, something not to worry about. What it has done is it has dragged in all of these things. Okay, it has created this. So this is, if you see, it says static mesh, static mesh, static mesh, some name static mesh. Whatever name was given in Maya while exporting to FBX, it has given that, and then a material. So it dragged the FBX and the material embedded in it. Unfortunately, that material was Lambert, so it is completely white. Now, if I were to drag this, you see, I can't see that because probably that item is too small. Okay, I'm just scaling it, and I can't drag them one by one. So what I can do is I can just select all of these four and drag it, and then you see that it is nicely arranged. If you don't like this, you know, if you're like, oh, I don't want four of these items coming in at the same time, okay, because in the FBX probably there were four items. What you can do is, while you're importing this, so I'm going to import the whole thing again. You can go down to this little thing which says show advanced, and where is it? Sorry, here, mesh, and say combine meshes. So import, and this time there won't be four different objects. All of those four objects are just combined. So nice stuff. Sorry, you get your asset and you get your materials. Okay, so you created this. Now let's just go away from this and then try to save this. So you'll see that there is a save all, there is a save here, save all, save current, save this thing, this time, and everything. So the safest thing to do, you see these stars here, which means that this is not saved. So when I say save all, it will ask me that the city gate group has to be saved, the Lambert material has to be saved, and there is a map which was created that has to be saved. So once you say save, this is saved, but it is also a good habit to go and say save all here. Okay, so everything that is needed in this file is saved, and you can then you can see the level name is called minimal default. Okay, you can, if you were to close this, you will get the Epic launcher popping up again. And our project that we had saved should be showing somewhere here. So stream project is showing up here. Okay, now to open this again, I will double click on this, but before we open up, see that path it shows D users specification documents Unreal projects stream project. So let's go to that. Okay, so I will just showing folder, and it will take me to this. So there it is, D users, whatever, and let's see the organization of a Unreal project. So this was the stream project that we did. What it did was it created these folders. Okay, so Unreal is like I mean, it just makes things easy for you by creating all these folders beforehand. If, earlier we had to create this ourselves and then map the paths, but Unreal takes care of the mapping and everything for you. And it creates this U project file. Okay, I have a poor stream again. Hold on. Okay, yeah. So it creates this new project file, and somebody had asked me a question a few days earlier that if I save a file in 4.24, can I open it in 4.23, an earlier version? Okay, so at that time I had discovered this cheat. This file is basically a text file. So if you open it with Notepad or something, okay, it has a lot of data, but because this is a new file, it doesn't have anything. What it has is an engine association. Okay, so if you're in a dire need, you can try to change this to 4.23 and see if it works. Most of the time it does not work, but yeah. So anyway, this is the file, and this is the file that we open. So let's see this folder structure: config, content, intermediate, save, and then I will just again open this file and let's see the equivalency of the actual folder structure here and what is there in the Steam project. So just loading it up. Okay, so our file as it was saved has opened up, and if you see here, it shows content, my props, and starter content, and there is a config, content, intermediate, and saved. So we will not worry about these folders. We will worry about this content folder, and if I go into this, it has my props and starter content. So same here as my props and starter content. Okay, but you see that it also has collections and developers, which we don't see here. Okay, because Unreal just wants to make your life easier and doesn't show it here. But if you want to see it in detail, you can go to view options and say show developer content. Okay, so it will show you the developer folder, and you can say show engine content, and it will show you more stuff that is available to you, okay, which is not in the folder. So this can be a bit confusing. Okay, a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense, so it is hidden, and I would say that for the time you can also just turn this off. Okay, let's just play with this. Okay, so we tried to get my props. We got this and this. Okay, uh, if you remember, I will just again do it to remind you of something, is that when I drag it in, when you delete that, you should also delete it from your page. When you drag it in, you see it, this skeletal mesh is not checked in. Because why is it not checked in? Because this thing did not have any rig in it. Okay, if it is a rigged object, if it is an animated object, we need it to have a rig in it, or at least some sort of hierarchy in it. So if I were to take some object that has some rig in it, so I have one thing called as FPS arm rig, which is also an FPX, but it has a rig in it. If I were to drag that, you will see that now it asks me whether it automatically has detected that there is a rig in it, and it is asking me, do you want to also import a skeletal mesh? Okay, So I'm just going to say import, and it imports it. Takes some time to create this shader. So this FBX had two shaders, Blend 1 and Blend 2, and you can see that it has done that. I'll just increase the thumbnail size a bit so you can see it better. Okay, so it is over here. Nobody keeps it this big. Generally, you would want it this big, but yeah, just for the screen, we will make it bigger. Okay. So, what is different is, if you saw earlier, we just had the mesh and we had the material, but here you have the skeletal mesh, the physics asset mesh, the skeleton, and all of this materials in it. So three new objects have come. Okay, and the material also has come. If we were to open this, we see that it is just white. Okay, if it is troubling you, this thing, if it is too fast or slow, you can come over here and reduce this, so then it becomes slow. And we see that when how did I come here? I came here, I double clicked on this, and I came here, I just seeing this. I want to have it to have some sort of color, which we do by materials. It has two materials, but they are both white. So let us see. Let us see what is attached to what. So when I say isolate, only this shows. So this blend 1 is to this, and blend 2 is attached to this. Okay. So I can close this if I want. I can come to blend 1, open it. What is this doing is, this is opening the material editor. Okay, same thing, parameter. I know that I can just drag this hands in here and let's zoom on them so I can see it. And if I were to change the color, double click on it and change the color, we know that this is going red. But I don't want a red color hand, I want a texture. Okay, so to import a texture, it's the same thing as we did with the mesh. We had dragged in the mesh. What I will do is, I also have the texture here. Okay, let me just open it. So this is the texture map. Okay, same procedure that you do in a normal 3D thing. Model it, UV it, create a texture map. Okay, so just like you dragged in the mesh, you dragged in the texture. Okay, and now that you have the texture, you can drag this texture into this material editor, and we will, you see this was already there. I'm just going to remove this by pressing delete, and it says RGBA. I'm just going to take this RGB and connect it to base color, and it seems that you can connect it to a lot of these things. I'll just connect this to roughness and see what happens. Okay, now you see that this material has changed, but this hand is still red. This is still red, the old thing that we had given. Okay, so it won't apply it to this unless you click on apply. Okay, so I will just say apply, give it some time, and it compiles that shader, and suddenly you have your hand showing correctly. Okay, but the other hand is still white because it is attached to blend 2. Okay, so because I know that it is the same texture, I can just drag this blend 2 onto this. Okay, blend 1 onto this, and I can get that texture. Okay, so this is kind of a very basic introduction to how to get an asset into Unreal, and also how to get a map into Unreal. Later on, we'll be making this super complicated, okay, but at the moment it is just this very basic. So you can create something and work on it. If you want, let me know if you guys want these files. These are open source by somebody. I forgot his name. So we can create a first-person shooter in this. So if you want, I can just put a link of this file in Google Drive and post it. Or you know what? I'll just do it right now. Whoever wants can just. I'm just zipping this file and putting it on G Drive. Just give me a moment. I'll just put it on G Drive. This thing, G Drive. Yeah. So just copied it to this. How big is it? Why is it taking so much? And so two things that we saw, just uh, so importing FX file into Unreal, and the second thing is importing texture file Unreal. Okay, so we are creating, what we are creating is assets. Okay, so once we have imported this, what can we do? Okay, funnily, I attach it to the scene and not to the main asset. So these assets are still, one is white and one is gray. So that I can fix by dragging this into this. It both are there. And now once I have this, I can just keep on dragging hands here. Okay. And you can populate the scene with hands. If you want to make a duplicate of it, you have to press Alt and drag, so you get duplicate. Okay. But if you see that this hand is going out, if anybody wants to download that asset, the hand asset, you can download it. We'll use it in our next things. Okay. So if I were to want to create a level, this is how I keep on creating a level by importing assets. There is one concept that I want to introduce right away. That is, you have just the assets. Now what you need is the code. Okay, so a game is, or anything basically, is assets and code. Okay, so in Unreal, if you know Unity and everything, everybody has their own language in which the coding is done. So in Unreal, the coding is done in C++. Okay, but as you know, C++ is pretty difficult to learn. So they have a visual language, okay, which is called as Blueprint. Okay, so for people who are not very good at remembering the syntax and everything of a programming language, this is very good, and it is actually very powerful. Most of the projects that I do it in with Blueprint. I hardly need to go to C++. Okay, so I just want you to know what Blueprint is. Okay, now what happens in a project file? Okay, we have these assets, we have this code, and all of this has to reside in something. Okay, it has to, so again I should open up Paint to explain to you what it is. So I had my assets, and I had my code. Okay, and this thing has to be in some sort of compartment. Okay, this is our whole project. Assets and code for every little scene are stored in separate compartments. So again we will have assets and code. Of course you can reuse all of them, they can come from a common source, but this separation of every scene, it's called as a level. Okay, so what you have is you have your whole project file, in that you have levels, and in the levels, each level you have your asset and your code. So what is the level of this? Which level or which map are we using? It is this minimal default. Okay, where did this come from? If I go to my maps, you will see that there is this minimal default. Okay, so there are 3 levels already. I'm just going to say save all again, and I can open, say, another level. If I open this, it opens and it has this stuff in it. Okay, so it has this asset in it, and maybe it has some code. If I open this level called starter map, it has this stuff in it. Okay, this is a lot of fun. We should have come over here first. But we are in minimal default and it has our hands. What if I want to create a new level? I can always right click and say new level. Okay, so I click on new level. Okay, and I can call it whatever I want. So my level. And because this was starter content, no, it had all of these skies and everything already put into it. When I open my level, it will just ask me to save it. and I open, there is nothing in it, which can be a bit scary. So we will add something just to, you know, feel a bit comfortable. Look at this, my level has nothing in it. I just open minimal default. Look at this, minimal default has a lot of things in it. One is the BP sky sphere, some atmospheric uh, things. So we have the sky, we have some fog, we have a light, and all of this, which is not there in our my level. So let, even if I were to see starter map, it has a lot of stuff already. Okay, including a light source and probably the BP sky also. Yeah, so BP sky sphere and everything it already has. Okay, our new level doesn't have it, so I will go to my level. And how do you add it? For that we come to this area. Okay, so it's a bit difficult to find, so just go to here and type in BP, and you see BP sky sphere. You just drag it into it and you get this. Okay, you will be like, oh, why is this evening while the rest of the things had nice, afternoon or something? So that is because by default when you drag it in this, so we dragged it from here and just clear this so that everything comes. So it, if I go here and I click to BP sky sphere, in the properties you will see it says sun height is 0. So you can just change it, and now you have clouds and sun and everything. Okay, we have something to stand on, we need something. So what I will do is I will just go here and I will drag this plane. Okay, nice. But the plane is black because it doesn't have lights, so I will go to lights and I will drag a directional light, and now we have light. Okay, just so that there is some furniture for me to look at, I will drag in a cube. Okay, this is like very brightly lit. I will go to this light intensity, let me reduce it to 4. Okay, and there is another light here called a skylight. Okay, which because with only one light you don't see any, the shadow is very dark. So with the skylight, it adds a little ambience to it. So it's a bit nice to see. Okay. So direction light, skylight, and this direction light also I can play with it to change. Okay, what I see is all of this is like under the grid that I have. See this? So I just reset all of this to see this location. I just say click on this, sets to 0. Okay, I'll take the cube, reset it, and it is set to 0, 0, 0. Okay, that grid is a bit, sea fighting is going on. So okay, so what I did was essentially I created a level. In this I have added assets. Okay, my cube, my plane, my light. I still have to add some code. Okay, now I actually have added some code. You remember I added this BP sky sphere. Okay, see if I were to double click on the cube. Okay, if I were to see this cube, it is nothing, it is just a cube. Okay, but if I were to click on this BP sphere, it opens up a very complicated window with a lot of stuff in it. Okay, Look at that. Okay, this is how it looks. This is this thing, the code behind this. Okay, and some random stuff, more stuff. Okay, so this is what we are going to actually see. This thing, you will see this name, it says BP Skyosphere. BP. BP, in that BP stands for blueprint. Okay, so this thing that we opened, this asset that we dragged, is a blueprint. Okay, and you see it says click to edit the blueprint. Okay, yeah. So what we will do is checking things. We have assets, level, and code. We will create our first blueprint. And what will we do to create our first blueprint? We will just say take this cube and we will convert it into a blueprint. So how do I convert this into a blueprint? What it means to convert it into a blueprint is you basically take a asset, take an asset, and you to that asset you add code. Okay, so this now becomes this whole thing becomes a blueprint. Okay, cool. So what we are doing is we are going to convert this asset to a blueprint. So to do that, we have to add code. How do you do that? See this button here, which says, I have selected it and it says blueprint or add script. So I just click on this and it will just tell me where do you want to save the blueprint. So it will also give it a name, cube blueprint. You can call it BP cube or something. Let's call it BP. Depends on you. And it is asking me where do I save it. It is going to save it in content. That's it, create blueprint. And this is the blueprint window. Okay, see it says BP cube. This is our asset. The code part will be added in. So you see these three tabs here: report, construction, script, and event graph. So the asset can be seen here. The code part will be added here. Okay, so I'm not going to do much in this. Okay, I am just going to take. There is already some stuff here. Don't worry if you don't understand it. There is something called as event tick. Okay, I will just take this and type something. Okay, so I'm saying add relative. So I just dragged something. I created this and I type in say 10. Okay, this is the code that I typed. Just don't worry about what this is. I just created something like this and then I clicked on compile. Okay, if I change something like 15, you see it goes away and I have to compile. Because this is a code, you have to compile the code. Okay, and you see that nothing seems to be happening, but there is this play button here. And still nothing seems to be happening. Okay, so why is nothing happening is because if you there is one more thing that I forgot is before you make it move, this was going to add some rotation. You have to say movable. Okay, it is by default, for optimization purposes, it is treated as static. I will say movable and then I play. and you see it is now rotating. Okay, so why is it rotating? The rotation part is done by this port. Okay, and you can, it was rotating too fast, so let's make it slow, compile and play. Now it is rotating. So now this thing that we have is the asset, our cube plus code. So this is now a blueprint. Okay. Now the good thing about blueprint is I call them smart assets, because once you create one, that is it. So this was saved in content. Now just like our other assets that we had, we had these hands that we could drag again and again into the scene. So similarly, the blueprint also you can drag again and again into the scene. Okay, once you have created a complicated code, you can drag again and again, and then we should play. Why is this not playing? Let's see. Again, it has to be made into. Okay, so that is our concept of a blueprint. So if anybody has any doubts, please ask. I'll wait for 5 minutes for the doubts, and if it is too basic, should I make it too a bit complicated, any sort of feedback? So basically, the beginners are encouraged to ask questions. I'll show you something interesting that I remember not showing you. In the meantime, you can just type your doubts. What happens is most of the times, if I come to an asset, I want to understand, where this chair's texture is coming. So I have to then go here. I want to click here. Okay, just a minute. So there is a nice tool here. If you right click on it, it is called as a reference viewer. When you open it up, it shows you all the history, like this is in the minimal default as well as in the starter map, and it has this material chair attached to it. In fact, you can go here and you can increase this to 2, and then it will show you this material is following these textures and so on. So yeah, that can sometimes be very helpful. Yeah, so custom event, we can make it into like a button on the UI. Yeah, then first I'd have to show what a custom event is, and then we'd have to go into the UI. So I think I will take up the UI part for a later, but if you just to clear your doubt, what you basically have to do is you have to create a UNG. Okay, you have to create a user interface widget. So maybe I will take it up. That's a good topic to have. In fact, I have a project on this system which I can show you, but I guess it might be a bit confusing for everybody else. What I can do is I can show you how to make a custom event. So, yeah, anybody has any other doubt? No? No doubt. Okay, so Len, I will take up your question. So, what we'll do is this is a new level. Uh, we'll just create a. So when I press play, what you see is it's not any pawn. If you look at here in this scene, you don't see anything. There is no character in it. But when I say play, you'll see it creates this default pawn, which Unreal is just creating on our own. What we want to do is we just want to add our own default, our own pawn here. Okay, so that is what we will do. When will we have the next session? I think I can have it once per week. So let me know. Or take about half an hour more. So a slightly advanced topic, but if you follow along, it should be very easy. What Lynn has asked me is how do we create a custom event, and then he also wants an other additional thing of creating into a button into the UI. That is a bit too complicated, but we will at least see how to create a custom event. Okay. So to create a custom event, you actually need a sort of a pawn, okay, or a character. So just to I will just save this, and we will create another project, and I will show you what I'm talking about. So when we started out, we did the same thing, but we created a default a blank project. Okay, so now instead of creating a blank project, Instead of creating a blank project, I will create a first person project. Okay, so it has already a lot of things built in, and I will call it FPS example. Same thing, everything is default. Again, opens up. Okay, so if you see, this already has a lot of things, and what one more important thing it has is the first person character. Okay, which is this little thing here, which has all the controls that you need to play a first person game. So let's not worry about it. Let's just quickly click on this play button and you see what it does. Okay, I can use my keyboard keys to move around. Okay, and I can press left click to fire. Ooh, that was too loud. Okay, so all of this functionality is built into it. This is also a blueprint because it is an asset plus code. So if I open this, you see it has all of this code written in it. Okay, so the viewport, it has this. The construction script will ignore it, and in the code part it has all of this. Okay, so what we were looking at is these are called as events. You know, you press a mouse button, it is an event. You press a keyboard button, it is an event. What we want to do is we want to create a custom event. So this is actually sort of a custom event. Okay, whenever something happens on the computer, this custom event is fired, and then you tell the game, okay, if this event happens, do this, whatever is to be done. Okay, so let's try to do it with our project. Okay, so again I am going to our project and opening that. Augie, you want me to be more simple, or it's too easy for you? So just opening this train project again, coming into this, let's go to our, where had we created our level? In maps, my level, it's a here where, and let's try to create a character with custom event. Okay, our first game character. So a lot of things that have to be done. First of all, from details, we just go to world settings, and I will show you something known as a game mode. Okay. So first thing that we need to do is we have to create a character, and we are not going to create a character with a gun or anything. We are just going to create a character who is a little cube. So to do that, we just say right click and go to. See, we created level just a few minutes ago. We go to blueprint class. So we are saying, hey, let's create a new blueprint. And what we want to do is there is a lot of these things that if you ask me, we will come to it, but we will create our character. Okay, and I will call it my character. See, this is a blueprint. So if I were to click on this, I will get the same three windows: viewport, construction, and event graph. So we'll write our code in this, and we'll write to put our asset into this. So since our character is going to be super simple, I'm just going to add a little box. Okay, that's it. This is our character. And the code we will write into this. Okay. What events do you need for a character to move? Okay, if I were to create a character and I want it to move, what events do we need? We need it to go forward. We need it to go backward. We need it to go. Yeah, the gunshot was loud for me also. We need it to go right. We need to go left. Okay, so we do this by pressing W. You do this by pressing S, maybe D and A. So WASD. So pressing these keys is an event. Okay, so we'll try to create custom events that once these keys are pressed, these events would be fired, and then they would fire the rest of the code. Okay, we might also want space bar, which will jump. Okay, so one jump event we will have. So how do we write that code? We just have event begin play, and we might want to directly map it to say the W key, which you can do by saying keyboard and then search somewhere, and somewhere you should see W. So if W is pressed, something will happen and all that. But we'll not do this because this is like too simple. We want to create our own custom event here. There is another type of custom event which we will come, which is where you will be. Okay, so let me not confuse everybody over there. We will first see the system custom event and then we will see the other custom event. It is actually, this is the custom event that we can do, but this is not the custom event that I am covering. I am covering creating a different type of custom event. I will come to this later. Okay, so what happens is when I'll just put a player start in this. This is required so that when the game starts, our player will come exactly at where the player start is position. Okay, since our nothing is there, when I press play, it is creating a default font. I don't want default font. I want my character to be there. Okay, so our character is done. I need to create a game mode base. Okay, just don't worry about what this is. It is required for the game to know what controllers we are using. So I will just call it my game mode base. Okay, so it is an interface between the game and your controllers. So if I open this for my game mode base, all I have to say is the default font class that you have to use is my character, which I created, and that should be it. Compile and save it. And in world settings, game mode, you just say use my game mode. Okay. So just to understand what has happened, you created game mode base. Okay. So you created game mode. The game mode is calling the character, my character, and my character will run the code. Okay, there was a default game mode. We said, hey, don't use default game mode, use my game mode. And in this my game mode, we are telling, hey, don't use the default Pawan class, use my character. Okay, that is all we did. And we created this my character earlier, which is essentially nothing but it has no code at the moment, but it just has this cube asset. Okay, let me just click on play, and so nothing is happening. I'm trying to move it, but nothing is happening because there is no code telling it to move. Okay, just for you to know that, okay, this my character has come in, I will just move this little cube a bit farther away, so you should be able to see it. And I will also color this cube red. So we can see it. Oops, sorry. Change the basic material to white, not gold. I should have just attached some other material. Okay, let's make this white. I will attach some other material. This cube, let's attach this hand material and move it ahead. And when I click play, my game mode fades. I did undo and because it too much. My game mode fades needs my character, compile, save. This is my game mode that I might play. And now you see that our character has spawned in the game, but I can't do anything. See, I'm trying to move, which you obviously can't see, but nothing is going to move. So the movement code is something that I will write in this my character asset. Okay, this is the asset. Here we'll write the code. Okay, we'll just clean this. To write the code, before we write the code, this is something new that we have to do. What have we decided that we are going to do? WASD. Will this undo work here? Yeah, so we wanted WASD. So these events we are going to write into this. So I will go into edit project settings, not editor settings. Okay. And it opens this, and we have to go down and find input. So it's always better to do it from here rather than to do it, directly calling the W key or something. When you click on input, it has action mappings and access mappings. Okay, what is the difference? Action mapping, you press a key, it is interpreted as a single event. With access mapping, if you press a key or you press a joystick or anything, the amount that you press is also calculated. Okay, if the mouse is to be moved in X direction, the amount of the movement of the mouse is calculated. So there are two things. We have a action mapping and access mapping. So I am going to add something here. I click on plus, it says new access mapping. What do I need? I need forward and backward. So I'm going to create an event called forward backward. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. And for this forward and backward, which key do I use? W and S. Okay, so I will search W. So W will make it go forward, and I will add another key which is S, which will make it go backward. And there is something called a scale. So whatever input it is going to get, it is going to multiply by 1. So it will take it forward. But S, I want it to be multiplied by -1, which will automatically make it go backward. Okay, so we are just taking the value that is coming from the key and multiplying it by a negative value, so it is going to go back. Okay, so forward backward, we created a mapping WS, and I'm just going to leave it there. We have to create the other controls, but let's see whether this thing works or not. So how do you do that? We created the event in project settings input, this thing. I am going to right click in the my character event graph, and what I'm going to say now is, it was called forward backward, right? So I'm just going to type forward backward, and you see that now it has axis events, and this is a custom event that we create. Okay, so different from that other custom event, this is a systemic custom event, and it can be mapped to any hardware input. So you can actually map it to a touch or mouse or a joystick or whatever. Okay, so if I click on this, it gives me input axis forward and backward. I am going to add something called as a movement input. Okay, so you see it's called, for the beginners this might be a little complicated, but you can just follow it and it should work. So I'm going to add a movement input, and it adds this. Okay, I dragged it to this and it adds a movement input, and say it says world direction, so it is asking, okay, movement, but in what direction? Okay, so that what direction would be the forward vector of the character. So wherever the character is looking, it is the direction of the forward vector. What is the forward vector? If there are some information that you get from any character, if this is the character and he is looking this way, then the forward vector is in this direction. Okay, then there is a right vector which is in this direction. Okay, so we just get to know what the direction is. Let's not worry about how we get this direction. Just understand that we get this direction. So whose direction do we want? We want the direction of the character. So I'm just going to say, drag this, and I am going to say forward vector. Okay, so get the actor's forward vector, apply, and whatever value you are getting from this, apply it to this. Forward and backward, it works. So what is going to come from here? If you press W, it is going to press 1 1 1 1 1. If you press S, it is going to be -1 -1 -1. Okay, that is all. Compile it, and if you play, no other keys will work, but W and S will work. You can see I am going forward and backward. Okay, there is no collision, so you are just going through everything. But W and A and S, D keys I am trying to press, they are not working. Okay, this is working. So let's do the A and S keys. Okay, for side, sorry, A and D keys for side movement. Hope it's not going too complicated. Okay, so to do that, again we'll go to project settings. I hope you can guess what I'm going to do. I'm just going to create another axis mapping. This I will call left, right, or whatever you want to call it. What will I add as a keyboard? A. See, I can add any of this, gamepad, whatever, millions of controls. Which is why we use this rather than putting there in the blueprint, putting some random, press this and press that. A, and one more is S, SD. Okay, I know that A has to be given a minus multiplier. What you can do is you can try giving a S as a minus multiplier and see how it can get very confusing. So left and right, okay, and then same thing I have to do. Input, I'll just type left, and now you should see an axis event called left, right. Don't take the axis value, okay, use the axis event. Same thing, but instead of, yeah, I have to use a movement input only. So drag this, movement, add movement input, and same multiply. And which direction? Not the forward direction, but the right vector. This was the forward vector. Now we need the right vector. So drag this and type in right. So get actor right vector. Okay, don't confuse with all of this because this will be some other notation. Get the actor right vector, and that should do. So it's going. What did I do? I did some problem. What did I do? I went and I typed in S as the not S, D I want. D. I was getting confused why it's not okay. So D goes here, A goes here, W. Okay. Now we just want to make it jump. So again, same thing, edit, project settings, input, and what I will do is I'll put it in action mappings because it is just a quick event. I press jump and it should jump. So click this, I will call it jump, and the key would be spacebar. Okay, so spacebar. And while we are here, let us also add the mouse looks to the side. This was edge and D is just strafing, so we want to turn also, right? So this we will call turn. And the funny thing with this is we want mouse X. So if I move the mouse horizontally, it should turn. So I use mouse X. Now in this, you don't need to give the scale because if you move the mouse X, these values will be positive, and if you move it, it will be negative. So you don't need to do anything, just set turn, mouse X, and jump spacebar that we have added. Okay. I will in fact actually just go and also do look up down. Okay, and I will map it to mouse Y. So if I move the mouse backward and forward, I should get it. And then in the game they say invert mouse. So this scale we will just put it at minus because I always like the inverted mouse feel. So look up and down mouse Y, turn mouse X. So we have this look up, down, turn, and jump. Okay. So I come over here, and first I will make him jump. So let's say jump is there. So our action event jump is there. on pressed. It's very easy. Actually, Unreal has written some code, so you just have to say jump, and released we will just say stop jumping. Very easy. Let's see whether it is working. So from here I press space, say jumping. Okay, for the mouse, let us do that. So what was that? Turn. So the turn event. Now you won't add movement input to it. What we will have to do is, if you are going to turn, that is what pitch. No, so yaw. Okay, pitch is going this way, while yaw is this way. So yeah, so look for yaw. So add controller yaw input. Okay, and this value just have to connect to this. Wow, that was easy. And then what was the other thing? Left, right, something, up, down. You look up, down event. Okay, and that is the pitch. So pitch. Okay, that's it. What else did we add? Turn, look, jump. Okay, done. So our character is ready. So now we can look up, down. Okay, we can go forward, backward, and you can jump. Okay. So well, I think that will be it for today. If you want to change the amount of complexity, if you felt that part of it was too simple or too complicated, or if you want to know something very specific, like a specific topic or something, just message me and we will try to cover those topics. We can have sessions because of COVID. I seem to have a lot of time, so we can have specialized sessions which are like doubt clearing sessions or something, rather than me just teaching. So just kind of tell me what you are interested in learning, and then we will have some sessions like that. Also give me feedback on how it was technically, uh, the screen quality, the audio quality and stuff. I will be saving this video so you can access it later on. So if you have any questions, do ask, or else I will stop the session. We almost covered, wow, 1 hour 46 minutes. We're not here. Need some feedback so that I can improve on this. Yeah, that is what strong. Uh, there is just so much of content. Every time I would be just covering new content. Uh, just wondering what to take up. Uh, we could just create a completely new character. So we just created custom mapping, but we could create, animation, gun animation, and everything from scratch. So if you think you are interested in that, I could do that. We can create as characters from scratch with custom gun animation and scoreboard on HUD, which should also cover Lin's query of having heads-up display controls. So I'm putting in an end screen, but you can keep on putting your queries in Discord as well as YouTube. YouTube chat should end in a few minutes, but the Discord chat is will still continue.